All right, so Dan Henderson versus Jon Jones. The pre-fight talk has already come out. And here's the first thing that I heard. Dan Henderson already called out Jon Jones, and he called his personality out, and he says he gives a disingenuous impression. Here's the quote. I'll try to read it off the best I can from Dan Henderson calling out Jon Jones. I don't know. I think it has to do with him being genuine. The fans sense when you are and when you're not. I'm pretty much who I am all the time. And I don't know if they get that impression from him. Not really. He was a little better after the fight with Rashad than he had been in the past, but I have not gotten that impression from him. No. His whole attitude, it's not completely genuine. But I think that it's what turned off the fans. I don't know him personally, so I can't say if it's genuine or not. It's just the impression that I think that's what the fans get. I'm a fan, and I agree. I did watch Jon Jones before he was champ. I saw him fight Stephan Bonner. I watched those fights, Andre Guzmão, and I saw him, as an up-and-comer. But the kind of guy he is now is just like this ultimate successful guy. He looks like a champion who's not going to be acting the same way when he gets knocked out. And I know everyone out there thinks that Jon Jones is, the best fighter. He is. But he's going to get knocked out eventually, and that's how he's going to go down. He's going to get knocked out. Mark my words. His stand-up is his weakness. I'm not saying it's weak, but once he gets you down on the ground, he's going to bash your head in with those elbows. So somebody might be able to land the right hand in his face and knock him down. It could be Dan Henderson. I do think Dan Henderson is the toughest guy. He's going to fight up until that point. I thought that Evans was his toughest test. I also thought that Machida was his toughest test. So he passed two tests in a row. I don't think that Rampage was as tough as an opponent for Jon Jones, and I don't think Shogun was a tough test. I knew he was going to beat the crap out of Shogun. But I thought that Machida was a good test for him because I think that Machida would beat Jon Jones in just a pure stand-up battle. Kickboxing match or something. And I thought that Rashad was his most well-rounded opponent. Best wrestler, most well-rounded. So I think this is like a 10% movement up past Rashad. Pretty much great, well-rounded fighter, great wrestler. The only thing that Dan Henderson brings to the table this time is that he has that right hand. He has that knockout power that Rashad really doesn't possess. Yeah, he knocked out Chuck, and he head kicked that one guy. I forget what his name was, Salmon. But he doesn't have the right that Dan Henderson has. Dan Henderson will knock your teeth out with that right hand. And Dan Henderson is going to be his toughest test. Dan Henderson's small. I don't think he's as strong as Jon Jones. He's small compared to Jon Jones. He is. Let's face it. It's going to look small on the weigh-ins. And he's not going to have the reach. I don't know what it is offhand, but he's not going to have the reach that Jon Jones has. But in the first 3 rounds, I see Dan Henderson as a serious threat for Jon Jones. If it goes into the 4th or 5th round, Jon Jones is going to win the fight. We see that he has the better cardio than Dan Henderson. So, pretty good here. I can't wait to see this fight. This is going to be probably one of the better fights for the end of the year. This is going to be one of the big ones. And I hope he comes back pretty soon. I doubt he will because it was a 5-rounder last time. But I want to see this fight. I definitely think that Dan Henderson has a good chance of knocking Jon Jones' head off. And Jon Jones has gotten pretty cocky at this point, and let's see what happens at this fight.